I'm going to start slowest and move fastest. First one is the Asus ROG Hone Ace something. Um, this is a hybrid pad, pretty unique. First, I like the size. It's a 508mm width. Typical is more like 450. That extra 2 inches is just perfect for me at around a 40 cm 360. The centimeter for your 360 measurement's kind of cool too. The weave does stick up a little bit, but it's a rather thin border. Color scheme's kind of nice. No real problems with this thing staying flat. I do have a little of a bubble on this side. I've never had an issue. I've brought this back and forth between work, so it's been rolled up here and there a lot. I have 3 mice. These two have dot skates with the Steel Series. These are the fastest dot skates I've used, and these I believe are Tiger Ice V2s. These came with my HTX. These are the fastest skates I've used. These are, I think, Tiger Ice V2s. Also glass skates. So the slower dot skates, it feels good. It's a quiet pad. It's a very quiet pad, and it feels very good on the skin. It has a little bit of coolness to it. Again, I want to say there's a coating to it, but typically hybrid pads like this, hybrid pads, instead of a typical neoprene pad where everything's kind of woven flat, hybrid pads are kind of woven where the mouse sort of glides on top of like a vertically sewn bit, so it makes them faster and kind of float on the top. This one seems to be still woven like pretty flat, so it feels silky smooth, and there's almost like a coating to it, like a clear coat or something. So it's still going to be faster than a standard pad, than a standard like neoprene pad. Yeah, these skates are definitely a little bit faster. And then glass skates. So this is unique. The glass skates, I guess it's just because this is like so flat or something. The glass skates are actually the slowest. But this is so quiet. I wish you guys could hear it, but yeah. I can hear that. I can hear that a little bit lower pitched. When I'm moving this slow, I can't even hear it. Initial friction is still very low with the glass gates. Oh yeah, that's interesting. I would say it's actually the lowest with the glass gates on this, but the dynamic, look at how it slows down so quickly. Next pad is another hybrid pad. PK Control 1. This is an AliExpress with coupon like 11 bucks. It's super affordable. It's a standard 400 by 450 size. You can see the size, extra 50, 60 millimeters here. The weave on the edges is actually really nice. It's very low profile. It's not the, like, you can kind of feel this, like, rib. But, the texturing is, so again, this is a more traditional hybrid pad where it has a feeling of roughness. This is probably one of my roughest, yeah, this is probably my roughest pad. Rather thick and rather soft too. Standard neoprene rubber base. Yep, definitely slightly faster than the ROG, maybe by, I don't know, 10% or so. Try faster skates. Now let's try glass skates. So again, the glass skates slow down rather quickly on this. That's interesting. Yep, glass skates are definitely slower on the PK Control 1. Look at that. Make sure I don't click stuff here. Really like this pad. Only downside is its size is a little small for me at a 40 cm 360. The extra 2 inches here on the ROG is really nice. It's rather rough on the skin too. I'll talk about roughness more with the next pad, which is the Razer Strider. This is another typical hybrid. It's a very lightweight pad, has this different rubberized base that still sticks pretty well. This is also a pretty typical 400 by 450 millimeter size, roughly. So again, it has that sort of upward, you can feel that the mouse sort of floats on top. This feels a lot like the PK Control. No, the PK Control is definitely rougher on the skin in terms of speed. I would say the Razer, oh yeah, and the spin test for sure. I'd say the Razer's like again 5 to 10% faster. It's not massive. Ooh, with these skates, that is quite a bit faster actually. Yep. On glass skates. Again, glass skates slower than the others. Quiet though. This is a very quiet pad. These are the loudest skates out of the three. This is a very quiet pad. Is it quieter than the PK Control? Nope, they're about the same volume, so both very quiet. Next pad is what I'm actually going to be using for the next little bit here. Coolermaster MP511. It is a cordura pad. Cordura is a tightly woven nylon or polyester. It's kind of like what like backpack straps are made out of. So they're plastic fibers or nylon. So it has like that really durable feel to it. Like it feels, this is what they make like military vests out of. So there's a bit of roughness to it. It's not nearly as rough as the hybrid pads though. The hybrid pads get their roughness because the mice like sit on top of these like upward woven fingers. This is still woven like a traditional neoprene pad where you're sitting on top of, a flat weave, but the material itself is just coarser. It's nylon. It kind of grabs at your skin rather than neoprene, like what this, mouse pads made out of neoprene. That's like what wetsuits are made out of. So this is definitely faster than the difference in speed between this and the others is more significant than the like AIM Labs to the Strider. So again, we went AIM Labs, PK Control, Strider. Now a little bit further, bigger gap here, I would say, is this Cordura pad. There are other Cordura pad options. My understanding is they do vary a little bit. The main downside that people don't like is the coarseness of it. Personally, it's not an issue for me. Glass skates, again, are a little bit slower on it. On my SteelSeries, these fast HTX skates are definitely the fastest. You can see this is probably the fastest setup that we've seen so far. And dynamic friction or static friction still feels the best with the glass skates. Isn't that interesting? Next pad is a hard pad. Now we are getting into the true speed pads. Cordura is about as fast as you can get for a cloth pad, depending on which pad. People say the Endgame Gear MPC 450 is a bit faster than this, but it feels very rough to the skin. Now we're going to move on to like a hard pad. This is the NPET SPEEDM resin pad. Has a medium texturing to it. Like the Razer Sphex has a less coarse texture, Sphex V3. It's almost like a very fine powdering to it. That pad feels really good, except it's just a piece of polycarbonate. This actually has a pour-on rubber base. So this is another big jump in speed over the Cordura pad. Do you have to worry about your hand sticking? A tiny bit. You could use a sleeve with this. I never really did. This is a pretty standard 400 by 450 size too. Here's a size comparison to the Strider. Hey, oh yeah, pretty much exactly the same. There's no edge though, and this edge here, it doesn't feel at all sharp. There are hard pads with a different coarser texturing. I personally don't like those. This is, I think, a pretty nice hybrid, and I think it's a really darn good looking pad. This logo isn't raised or anything. It is the noisiest. Oh, now that's fast. That is fast. I'm having to put less if I use the same force. Yeah, it's just gone. That is a fast experience. Definitely noisy though. Look at that, how there's a big difference in the speed of these two skates here, even though they're both dot skates. And glass is again the slowest. Look at that. This is how I have the glass set up. Extremely low static friction. It wants to start moving immediately. Yeah, glass skate's definitely the slowest though. Look at that. Actually quite slow. Yeah, this would be a weird setup to use glass skates with this because it feels almost like you know, like static electricity kind of like pulls you to like your blankets or whatever. It kind of feels like that. Also, look at how this is a bigger pad here than this one, and the back likes to move first. That's because this has more friction than this one here. So the back, even if I bias it with trying to rotate it. Yeah, that's interesting. Just realized that. And the last pad, this is the WishJazz something or other. This is a coated pad, ever so slightly bigger than the NPET. Very unique pad. It's coated, meaning, well, it's a soft, pliable rubber base and nice thick. This is like a 4 or 5 millimeter. This is the thickest out of all the pads. It has you can see it almost looks like the shimmer. That's not dust or anything. A lot of these will have like a glass infused. Here's a Fanatic Jet, which is a coated pad, and they say hyper fast technology. Holographic, yeah, kind of like holographic foil cards. I guess there's like a glass infusion into this or something. This is definitely the fastest pad. I mean, this is just nuts. Not only that, it's also very quiet. There's a little bit of coolness when you first put your hand onto it. Much like this plastic pad, there's a little bit of coolness. But this thing I notice heats up really nicely. No arm sleeve required. I mean, if you're maybe a really sweaty person, I'm stay pretty dry, so I guess I'm lucky that I don't need an arm sleeve. But if you're a sweaty person, you'll probably want to use an arm sleeve on this. On this, it's maybe, yeah, that is just effortless. And what's really nuts about this setup is when you go to glass skates. I mean, it's like an air hockey table. It just doesn't want to stop. So this is one, we've seen all these other pads have been slower with glass skates. This one is quite a bit faster. And we don't really see as much of that same where the back wanted to turn around because there was less skate for less friction. We don't really see that here anymore. Incredibly fast. Really like this pad. Can't believe it's only like $18 by WishJazz. Anyway, hope this helped, guys.